Welcome back to Cord Cutting Today, where we break down some of the biggest stories happening in the world of cord cutting, including today. Has Netflix won the streaming wars? We'll tell you who's saying that and what it means. Is Hollywood on pace for a big crash when it comes to new shows and movies? There's a big drop in new production. We'll tell you what's happening there. And Paramount will be laying off hundreds of employees, along with a ATSC 3.0 Tableau DVR. These stories and more coming up in a second. If you're new here and you want to learn more about these stories, check the show notes out down below and in the first pinned comment. I'll put a link to each story I talk about there so you can read them for yourself and come up with your own opinions. I'd love to hear from you. If you're new here, help us grow. Let YouTube know you enjoy what we do here by hitting that subscribe button, hitting that thumbs up. We would really appreciate it. With that said, let's dive into it, starting off with Bank of America said Netflix has won the streaming wars. So what does that even mean? Okay, let's just talk about this for a second. Netflix is the winner of the streaming wars. In the eyes of Bank of America, this means that they're most likely to be the streaming service to still be here in a few years. The streaming wars aren't just about getting you to subscribe. It's also about who will be still here in a few years. Is that going to be Amazon, Hulu, Sling TV, YouTube TV? What services will be here? I'll tell you this right now. There are more services on the market right now than the market can support. What do I mean by that? That not all these services are going to be able to attract enough subscribers to be profitable. The average American subscribes to 3 or 4 streaming services. There are hundreds of streaming services out there when you count all the free and small apps and others out there. So I suspect that we're going to see this happen coming up. But Bank of America, one of their analysts have come out who looks at investors and said Netflix has won. They believe Netflix is in a good position here to go forward. That if there's a time and place where some streaming services just won't make it, Netflix is probably one that will. And I have to kind of agree. They got a very strong base. They have low debt compared to some of the other companies out there. And while they may not have a Warner Brothers Discovery or a Disney behind them, they're striking really good deals because of their massive subscriber base. So we'll keep a close eye on this. But let me know, what streaming service do you think is most likely to shut down? What streaming service do you think is most likely to be here in 10 years? All right, is Hollywood headed for a massive crash? The number of new shows in production is dropping in 2023. We're seeing an increasing sharp drop, and that's expected to continue into 2024. Now, this isn't just about the writer's strike. That's part of the problem that definitely delayed some shows. But what we're seeing here is a growing number of streaming services cutting back on the amount of original content in order to help them become profitable. Most streaming services are not profitable right now. By cutting down on original productions, they can help cut their costs and become closer or eventually become profitable with that. We'll see how this plays out, but look for in the future Disney Plus, others to cut back. With that, or at least not to see the massive jumps we've seen in years past when streaming was willing to do anything to find that must-watch killer show that everybody would subscribe to their service for, driving up subscriber revenue. Now instead, they're saying, hey, can we produce fewer shows, higher quality shows, instead of just throwing everything against the wall? Have you noticed fewer programs being created and less original content coming to streaming services? Leave me a comment, let me know. I think in the long run, though, this is going to continue to impact the bottom line of studios in Hollywood and could definitely have a long-term ripple impact that we don't quite understand at this moment. All right, Paramount will reportedly be laying off hundreds of employees in February. Last month, we learned in a report from the Wall Street Journal that Paramount would be laying off hundreds of employees. Now, Deadline says that now, or originally reported as over 1,000, now reported as just hundreds of employees and happening in February. Deadline says that managers at Paramount have been given targets. Hey, you need to cut X amount of employees. And they've started the process of doing that, preparing for a February layoff. We saw massive layoffs of Paramount last year. This Paramount, and like everybody, is struggling in 2 big things. Make streaming profitable with Paramount Plus and other streaming platforms. 2, a weak ad market. I can't say this enough. That is one of the biggest problems in television right now, is ad revenues are down. A lot of these companies rely on ad revenues. Even streaming, increasingly, some of the most popular things to subscribe to are ad-supported plans. While they're filling the ads, they're filling those ads at lower revenue points. They're selling them for less than they did in the past. Now, this is an election year that may help, but many suspect that it's not going to be quite what the election or revenue is of what like 2020 was, for example. We'll keep a very close eye on this, but Paramount probably joining other big companies. I don't think Paramount's alone in this. Going to be making big cuts here coming up soon in all areas, from streaming, traditional media. All areas of Paramount are reportedly going to be impacted by this. All right, next story up. Early last year, we learned that Tableau DVRs was cutting back or delaying its plans for an ATSC 3.0 DVR. This is the new next-gen over-the-air television standard. Currently, all Tableau DVRs do the first generation, which still works and will work for quite a few years going forward. But the new ATSC 3.0 one is still in the works. Now, in an interview with us here at Core Cars News with Roger, he did a great job in this interview. Scripps CEO Adam Simon came out and said the fourth generation Tableau is a 1.0 receiver. It is a decision of ours as to when we want to transition to 3.0 receivers, and I don't think it's going to be too long. So it's good news that DVR is still in the works. We don't know when, though, it's coming out, but it's probably not too far down. Now, there's a lot of problems, mostly related around the DVR standard not working nicely with the network tuning. So they could probably release a DVR, but would it have proper or DRM standards to decrypt encrypted channels? We'll have to wait and see. But Tableau came out and said, hey, we're trying to figure out this DRM situation. We're going to keep an eye on it. We're going to release a DVR when it's ready. So if they feel like they're getting closer, maybe they found some solutions to address the DRM issues with their network-enabled Tableau DVR. By the way, if you're not familiar with the Tableau DVR, it's really nice. You plug your antenna into it. It can DVR your programs just like a cable box could, but then it also streams it out to Roku's, Fire TVs, iPads, tablets, iPhones, and more, allowing you to record your content but watch it on a wide range of televisions, which is really nice. You know, antennas usually work best higher up. You can put an antenna in your upstairs bedroom, stream it to all the TVs in your house. It's a pretty cool feature. A lot of people are very excited about a possible 3.0 tuner in that with maybe DRM. We'll see. All right, our super bundles coming to the United States. In Canada, Netflix, Disney Plus, and Amazon Prime have announced a new bundle through a telco there, Telius, that will be just $20 a month or for the standard version, or $38 a month for the premium. So you get Disney Plus, Netflix, and Amazon Prime Video with it, or Amazon Prime with it, excuse me, for $20 on the basic plan. That's a pretty good bundle deal there. Will we see more of this? And I firmly believe yes. We're seeing an increasing slow but steady trend to get more bundles. Now, this isn't cable. You're not forced, hey, this is your only option. But if you know you want those three services, it's a pretty good option. But you can still subscribe to them individually. We're seeing this in the United States. Verizon's been a big pusher of this. They've been offering bundle deals of different streaming ones to their Verizon customers. We'll keep a close eye on this, but let me know. Would you pay for bundle deals if, for example, you got three services, pay for one? So we're already seeing this with the Disney bundle, Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus. What happens if you get Netflix, Paramount Plus, and Max bundled together for $25? Would that be worth it for you? Let me know if you would ever be interested in that. I think it could help with subscriptions, but at the same time, I don't know if they're going to think they're diluting their value of the products. Let me know. Dish has recently been offering debt swap offers. These are offers where basically says, hey, you know, I have a debt due coming up. We can swap it for debt later on with offers here. Now some people who hold these debts are arguing that what Dish is doing to swap their debts here to kind of delay payments and other things is illegal, accusing them of fraud and threatening legal actions against Dish. Dish has a lot of debt related to the decline of their television market, but also the launch of their 5G network as they build it out. It'll be interesting to see if this impacts the company as a whole. Debtors kind of like to do stuff like this. I'll take this all with a big grain of salt. You talk strong, you kind of scare people, but are you really going to follow through on this? Or are they just trying to get some concessions on different things or early payment? We'll see, but Dish's creditors seem to be very unhappy right now. If you subscribe to the Friendly TV live TV streaming service, this is a very nice budget-friendly streaming service that offers a ton of channels under $10, which is pretty nice. While they're rolling out a new app, started off on Android, I've heard a few people say they've got it on different streaming players, but now for the first time, Friendly TV has a home screen. Instead of launching directly into the guide, which is what it traditionally does, which is just the traditional grid guide you see of different channels, it's now launching into a home screen, which looks like the movies and television section, has recommended live channels, recommended on-demand stuff. You can still jump into the guide, but Friendly TV is rolling out a new app that brings it more in line with what you see on YouTube TV, Hulu, and other services out there with a home screen of recommended content. I'm sure they're hoping you discover the fact that it has a massive on-demand catalog. If you're a Friendly customer and you're only using it for the live TV, you may want to check that on-demand section. It's pretty massive. All right, are you sick of getting phone calls, emails, and letters in the mail from your ex-cable company? DirecTV, Comcast, Dish, Spectrum, and others are well known to spam you for a while. They can do that if you, within a certain window. There's all kinds of rules that they can legally contact you after you cancel. We have a post over at Core Cars News on how to stop those messages. There's ways you can request to be removed. I have a link in the show notes down below. A few years ago when I had this list, it was pretty easy. Some companies had websites. You just went there, put your address, your phone number, and email, and you said, do not call me. Increasingly, they're making that a little bit harder. And when I looked at it and saw that our old post was pretty out of date, we launched a new updated version here. Check that out. If you want to stop getting spam mailings from Dish, DirecTV, and other companies, link in the show notes down below. All right, CBS in our last story is in talks to have a spinoff of a spinoff. Yes, they're reportedly in talks of a Young Sheldon spinoff to continue the show, focusing on some different characters here. Let me know, what do you think? Are you sad that Young Sheldon's coming to an end after the next season? Are you excited about possible spinoff? Leave me a comment, let me know. I'll love to hear from you what you think of that. But one more spinoff right out there. Why are spinoffs becoming so popular? Real simple. According to many people in the industry, television production is just far more expensive than it used to be. It's far more risky to do a pilot in a show, especially with the new deals out there, than older ones. That you could be paying millions of dollars an episode and not like the show and not move forward. That's significant from just a few years ago when the costs were half or less to produce shows. Back then, studios were much more willing to take risks on movie and television shows because the costs were lower. Well, now costs are higher, meaning they are far more likely to rely on spin-offs and remakes of popular shows that they think are more likely to be successful. All right, let's dive into a question of the day. I always try to answer a question here from you, the viewers. If you have a question you want me to answer about streaming media and all kinds of stuff related to cord cutting, leave it in the show notes down or in the comments down below in the show notes, and start off with something like a question for Luke so I know it's a question you want me to answer. Jim asked today, Comcast is moving SNP Pittsburgh, which is their local RSN that airs all kinds of Pittsburgh sports, to a higher tier. Any chance this becomes a standalone app if Comcast viewership drops? Will this possibly help that RSN go direct to consumer? Yes and no. It's very complicated. You would have to ask what their contract is with Comcast. Pittsburgh, I'm sure a lot of television stations would love to sell it on cable and sell it direct to consumer. The problem they have is that could violate the terms of their contract. They want to keep cable companies happy because cable companies are still the #1 way they earn money. We saw this with Nexstar. I think it was last year or the year before. Don't quote me on the exact year, but in the last year and a half or so, they announced that they're no longer going to be streaming their afternoon, evening, and morning newses live. They're not going to be on delay, posted later in the day. They did that to, according to what they said, be more friendly to cable companies, so cable companies would give them better deals to not undermine them. Newsmax also recently shut down their free stream because it upset cable companies and their cable contracts. So you have to ask cable. But yes, the fewer people that watch a network, the more likely that network is to go direct to consumer. We see this with ESPN launching a service next year as their viewership dwindles. We'll see how this plays out, but fewer people watching, more likely it will happen. It just won't be instantaneous. Is Pittsburgh going to look and say, oh, Comcast moved us a higher tier, we have fewer viewers, we're going direct to consumer? Probably not. It's probably years down the road. 1, 2, I don't know. Possible they already had it in the works, but these things take time once they make the decision to do it. I hope that answers your question. Do me a big favor if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, we would really appreciate it. I'm here every Monday through Friday answering your questions and breaking down the biggest stories in the world of cord cutting. I'll be back again real soon.